I kind of begrudgingly respect just the dedication to not getting better at what you do for a living. Just coast through life.
It probably shouldn't even happen.
If you got it, you got to flaunt it, Acid.
You know what? I got a lot of stuff that I don't want to flaunt, so I just keep it to myself.
Jeremy is really big into the used mattresses. I think that's an excellent deal.
He has a used mattress store on the side. And we found out that Anthony's friends are all 13-year-old boys. Nice.
Whoever wins gets Acid's ball soap.
Clay, how you doing?
Doing a little more poorly after that terrible introduction. I was just fine, to be honest with you.
Hello, sci-fi gangsters. This is the show where we talk about science fiction, comic books, and video games. Really, it's just an excuse for me to catch up with my friends and to meet interesting people. I'm Anthony Dinar, media scholar and person who just missed everybody. We've been off for a couple of weeks, and I didn't want it to be a third week in a row that we're off. Obviously, when I say obviously, no one knows what I'm talking about. But next week, we start our very first Star Trek Adventures campaign. We'll be doing that next episode. But today, I didn't want to have another week off. So I'm bringing some people in, including good friend Carrie here. And we're just going to catch up. We're just going to talk about what's new, what's going on. Perhaps we can kind of go off on some tangents. But that is the topic for today. Just catching up with the boys, right? That's what I like to do. I don't know why I'm talking like this now. I apologize to everybody. Anyways, so we're just going to catch up with everybody. But first, let's go ahead and introduce the panel here. First, the producer of the show, Acidtrain. Acid, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Acid, you jumped off the Halo bandwagon pretty early on.
I did.
And things have been getting worse and worse.
Even worse. Halo, yeah. It's like I called it. It's kind of weird.
Well, here's the thing about Halo. It's probably my favorite shooter game.
Sure.
I love the mechanics. I love the sci-fi element to it. It is, and I have been an apologist for Halo for a while now, and I'm getting to the point where I can no longer. I can't.
Why don't you just play Destiny and be done with it?
I'm not going to do that either.
No.
So the squad that I usually play with, Acid, you know who I'm talking about. It looks like everyone's getting very excited about Modern Warfare, Call of Duty. I'm not that big fan of Call of Duty, but I'm going to play what the squad plays. So it looks like we're going in that direction. We're going to go to Call of Duty, which, once again, I'm not that crazy about. But at least there are so many people who play Call of Duty that they're actually going to release content regularly, right? So it's not going to be Halo where everyone's begging for content and Halo is just not doing anything.
They're not getting any. It's the same thing over and over again. And I'm not going to lie. Season 1 was great. Like, I loved season 1. I had a blast. I think I ended up clocking like 300 hours or so on season 1. Even bought a couple of things, just to support season 1. Got through the whole battle pass, bought the battle pass, enjoyed every game we played. We got pretty good ranking. And then season 2 happened, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
It has gotten, it's weird saying that it has gotten better, right? The game itself has gotten better because although it's taken way too long to get this content, then some of the new content that's been arriving has been a lot of fun. The Yappening was a whole lot of fun with the Fiesta Battle Royale and everything that they not Battle Royale, but big team battle that they released.
Right.
And then Shoddy Snipes was fun for a while until they got rid of the shotguns, and I'm not a big sniper guy. So, but yeah, there's been some modes. Some of the coding that they've released, some of it has been pretty good. They started doing cross-platform customization, so you could have all the visors were cross, so you can have any visor on anything. So there were some things that you were getting excited about, but they just released the plan for season 3, and it's like months away, and it should not be months away. Like it's ridiculous how long.
It should already be in the works right now.
It's really ridiculous how long we're having to wait for new content, and it makes sense that so many people are jumping off the Halo bandwagon. They keep losing, so it's gotten to the point now where every time I play Halo, it's like I'm always playing people who are Halo like dedicated Halo players. So the competition's always high. So it's like so the only people
really
I'm
good.
playing on Halo now are people who all they do is play Halo. So it's even taken that fun out of it as well, because every match I'm in, it's a competitive match, and every once in a while I just want to have one where we just dominate, and that's not the case anymore. So it's pretty disappointing. But yeah, we got off on a Halo tangent there. I don't know how that happened at all, but maybe I'll come back to Halo after we played Modern Warfare for a while. But yeah, we'll go ahead and move on to Carrie. Carrie, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. Alive. That's always fun.
It's good. It's good to be alive. Right.
Just chilling.
Any reason why you have the San Francisco bridge in the background? What's the deal with that?
No, it was either this or just have it blurred.
Okay,
Like,
sure.
You'd still see the nonsense in my room.
I didn't know if you had like a hidden message there, like you're saying, like I'm from San Francisco or I'm moving to San Francisco, but no, you just have a stock image.
Yeah. I didn't
Of
feel
the
like
bridge.
looking for like a new image. I usually find like a something that defines me. Today's not today. I'm just it was a long day today, so cool just to chill out, talk, hang.
Very
Very
good.
nice.
Excellent. Now, Carrie, the last time I saw you, you were gracious enough to come to my panel at Dragon Con. You're
I
one of the
did.
many, when I say many, I mean 10
Oh, wow.
people. No, there
You,
was,
so
there
you
was-
were the other guy in the room.
You were
Gary.
the
Yeah, I
other
That's
guy in the
nice.
room.
I was the other guy in the room.
You were the other guy.
Now, I've mentioned this before on our Dragon Con review show. I actually was happy with the amount of people who came at a Sunday at 10 a.m. And it was probably like 12 to 15 people in there, maybe. And I'm good with that. I'm happy with that crowd, because I've been to academic conferences where there's been 5 people in the audience and you just
Yeah.
feel like it's a waste of time. But it was great. And they seemed to be engaged with what I was talking about. And yes, I went way too long. I talked way too long. But yeah, it was definitely good to see a familiar face in the audience other than Jeremy. But yeah, thank you so much for coming out.
No problem. No, but we started late, so I mean, like you're forgiven a little bit.
That's right. The panel itself started late because we were locked out of the room for a while,
Yeah.
I seriously thought they were going to have to cancel the panel, or we were going to have to do something weird where we're out in the hallway doing it. But someone was able to come in and unlock the door, and we were able to get in there and do the show. But yeah, it was fun. It was a good time. So thank you
Nice.
for coming out, Carrie. All right, so let's go ahead and we're just going to catch up here. I guess I'll go ahead and begin. First things first, Carrie, I want to ask you this before I forget. The article that you were planning on writing, have you written it yet, or is it?
Yeah, it's written, but things with work just got yeah. So like this weekend I will be posting everything. This is the first free weekend I've had since Dragon Con, actually. So all of that, like 3 or 4, I think 5 posts are coming. And so all of that's going to be up by Friday, Saturday.
All right, very good. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss it or whatever. But
No, I'm definitely going to post for you.
All right, well, fantastic. All right, so let's go ahead and get catching up. So if you know what I've been doing for the past month, so first of all, let me set this up by saying, at Dragon Con, had a great time. But one of the things I enjoyed about Dragon Con is we went to a few Dungeons and Dragons themed panels, and just going to these panels, hearing from experienced GMs about how to strategies on how to do Dungeons and Dragons, sort of fun things, creative things to do. And I really got excited about the idea of me GMing a campaign. It's something that I've kind of always wanted to do. I feel like I have the personality to do it. I think I would have a lot of fun doing it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to set something up. We're gonna set up a campaign, and of course, I'm a huge Star Trek fan. So I found out that Star Trek actually has their own. I don't want to say it's not Dungeons and Dragons, because it's actually very different than Dungeons and Dragons in terms of how it's played. But it's a role playing game. But it's set in the Star Trek universe. And I've been studying the rule book, and that rule book, I don't have it here with me, but it is thick. It is a thick book. It's like me studying for my comprehensive exams again. Like that's how thick this book is. But the way I've been treating it is, I'll every morning I'll write my dissertation, and then when I'm done writing for the day, I'll read a couple pages of the Star Trek Adventures guidebook, and just every day I learn a little more and more. I feel pretty comfortable now with how it works. But knowing that I have another week is also very helpful. So once again, it seems to be pretty fun. Like it seems like we're going to have a really good time. It seems like I'm going to have a really good time, because there is a lot of creativity that the GM and freedom that the GM can do. Now, there are certain guidelines that are set in order to make it run smoothly in terms of, what you can do, and if any sort of conflict arises, how to deal with that. And I feel pretty comfortable with how rolling works in terms of the dice and everything, and challenges and combat. So I feel pretty comfortable with how we're going to do that. So I'm interested to know how it's going to work our very first adventure next week. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. All right,
I've got my costume ordered. It's ready.
You might be
I've got my red shirt. I've got my communicator badge. I think it actually is just one that's on the shirt. I don't think it's an actual badge. And I've got my phaser ordered. When I get into a scuffle with a strange alien life form.
Well, very good. Excellent.
I will be ready.
Yeah, so you're pretty happy with the character that I made for you,
I'm gonna leave it. Yeah, I thought about changing it, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it, and let's just see how it goes. So here we go. We're gonna make it happen. I'm even growing the beard out some more.
Oh, there you go. So to look like the Tellarite.
I'll be the Tellarite beard. Yeah.
Gotta have it. The Tellarites are basically space dwarves, just in case you didn't know, Carrie. But yeah, I'm glad you're excited about the campaign. You might be the only one who's going to be dressing up. Maybe I'll try to dress up as well, but I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I have some surprises.
You should dress up as an admiral, right?
Well, I could dress up as the captain, because what I'm doing is
that's right. You are the
captain.
Yeah.
The captain and first officers are going to be non-playable characters, and it'll be Jeremy will be the third in command, so he'll be the highest ranked player character. So
this sounds fun.
What he's trying to say, Carrie, is he wants all the control for himself because he's a control freak. I mean, just look at him.
Well, actually, no. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I've been listening to other podcasts that have been playing the Star Trek Adventures, and a lot of them do this. And the way they do it makes so much sense, because the way they do it as in terms of like, I can control what ends up happening if things go too crazy by just having the captain saying, no, we're going to do this, right? So it's an easy way of like steering everyone back if necessary. But the way I'm going to use it, and I don't want to spoil anything, is I want to have some like tension and conflict. And having a captain who is kind of an a-hole seems like a whole lot of fun to me. So that's kind of the direction I'm going.
Why don't you tell Carrie the name of your captain?
After Shatner, it feels like.
Well, I'm doing something different, Acid. This is the surprise that's coming up on next week. So
okay.
It's a little bit different with the captain.
Okay.
But yeah, excellent. Very good. I'm glad, Acid, you're excited about Star Trek Adventures. It should be a lot of fun. I feel pretty comfortable with any sort of. Here's going to be my main challenge. My main challenge is you guys don't know the rules. So when you get to a particular situation, because everything like the way the campaign works is you sort of begin by everyone sort of just improving and sort of building the episode, and then things happen, but you don't know everything that you can do. So I kind of have to also tell you, hey, look, you can also do this if you wanted to. So that's going
But
to
if
be
it's
kind of
typical D&D like exploration, it should be. I mean, if you've ever played D&D before, you should have some type of general idea of what you can and can't do. Which
So
I
let
mean,
me give you an example of
Okay.
this.
Okay.
So you're in a combat situation, right? The way Star Trek Adventure works, it's not like you roll for initiative and then everyone takes turns. No, each team takes a turn. So like the playable characters will act, and then the opposition acts. So one person acts.
So it's like a
for the team.
turn-based strategy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So one person acts
That's
in the
nice.
team. But the way that the game works is throughout the scene, throughout the episode, you are building momentum by doing different things. You're either building momentum or you're failing, right? To build momentum. So let's say like one of your guys acts, right? And then that's your turn. Unless you want to spend momentum, then you can pass it on to another player, or you could do other things. You can get in particular positions where you're setting things up, whatever. You can
Mhm.
try to disarm somebody rather than hurting them. So there's so many different things that you can do. So like I think for me it's going to be like, all right, guys, you can do this, but you can just don't know that you can also do this, this, and this, and this if you wanted to. So it's going to be a lot of that going on too. Or maybe I'll just let you do it, and then just later on tell you, you could have done this.
Well, I figure for the first week or so, like the first couple of,
Mhm.
Because I mean, are we really going to get through an entire episode in one filming? Because I mean,
I
see that.
don't know.
I don't see that happening if we're all learning the first couple. Like, so maybe have one episode last 2 to 3 weeks.
We just do a two-parter.
Yeah, or something like that, and that way everybody's on the same page by the time we get to like a month or so down the road.
Last time on Star Trek.
Ooh, I could do something like that. We could make a little video.
And now the
Last time.
conclusion.
That's right.
That's the famous voice. But yeah, very good, excellent. So that's we talked about Star Trek Adventures. Let's go ahead and move on to Acid. Acid, what's new with you?
I have finished watching The Sandman
Finished
on Netflix. It was very good. So good, I decided to purchase The Sandman.
Comic book, excellent.
It's the I went and grabbed the graphic novel part 1 or book 1 so I could do the whole thing. And so far it's amazing. It's very well written. Very nice story. And I'm looking forward to finishing it. And then last night actually rewatched Constantine.
Okay. Yeah.
With the older one. What's his name? Keanu Reeves. Yeah, Keanu Reeves.
I was blanking too there for a second.
Yeah, I know. I just saw it, but yeah. And completely blanked that actually came from DC because I recently purchased HBO Max, and I've made it through most of the Marvel stuff on Disney Plus, and I was like, who's got the DC stuff? And it was HBO Max. I was like, well, let me grab HBO Max and start kind of. It's not as organized as Disney Plus is because there's no chronological anything. There's no. It's just kind of like here you go, figure it out yourself. So that part I don't really care for. So I'm kind of when I do end up watching most of it or all of it, I'm sure it'll be completely out of order, which is fine, but I'd rather it be in order. I may just have to Google it and see, what I should do.
And of course, I have to plug it. Peacemaker is a phenomenal.
Peacemaker. Okay.
Peacemaker is phenomenal.
You have to watch Peacemaker.
It's so good.
Okay.
It's so good. It shouldn't be as good as it is.
I've watched. I haven't watched a lot of DC stuff.
Yeah.
But I've watched most of the Batmans. I mean, a lot of people have, but I'm really looking forward to like the Harley Quinn stuff. And Suicide Squad. I've never seen that, so I need to play catch up on a lot of these DC things. But I did. We remember when we watched Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like,
Yeah.
I know y'all are making so much fun. I really enjoyed it. I don't know why. I loved it. I thought it was so good.
I tend to be, and I do this in my class too, because in my comic book studies class, we watch the Zack Snyder's cut at the end. And I do tend to, like, the class as a whole tends to hate on it. And I tend to be the guy that's like, really interesting. So my class as a whole tends to not like it. Maybe this year will be a little bit different. But last year we watched the Snyder cut, and a lot of people were hating on it. And I was the guy who was like, you know what? There are some things that are not great about it, but visually speaking, like, it's a visually beautiful film. Like, and in terms of how much it borrows the comic aesthetic in so many ways. And I say, look at this. This is a splash page. And look at this. This is sort of how your eye moves when you're reading a comic book. It's sort of replicate. So I kind of go through that. And because Zack Snyder really does, like, he's heavily inspired by the comic itself, in terms of not just the storyline, but the aesthetics of a comic. And you can see it. And I think from that sense, it's worth watching and worth talking about. But yeah, for the most part, my class tends to spend the first 15 minutes just trashing the film.
And I'm not going to say Affleck is my favorite Batman, but I'm going to tell you right now, he is not bad at all.
I like Affleck. I
think he does very well as Batman. Like, I was shocked.
Carrie, what do you think of this? It seems like you had a response when I said that my students typically denigrate the Zack Snyder.
Well, I mean, I hate that it's so long. I feel like the movie doesn't have to be that long. But I enjoyed it, especially after the original Justice League movie that we got. That was very lacking, because I've been talking with my sister about this. Like, I have an issue with Warner Brothers doing live action films based on other properties. They don't know how to take their hands off of it and let it breathe a little bit. Because
Mortal Kombat.
Because any DC animated thing is always wonderful, and I'm just like, well, why is the animation so great and live action is always terrible?
It's the money. They're too scared. They're too scared of the investment involved that they're afraid to fail.
They dropped the ball on that a lot, and like, I could, in the Snyder cut, like, you see all of the pieces that would have brought all of those different movies together much clearer. And I was like, okay, this is a more cohesive version of the story that he wanted to tell. But it just took so long.
In terms of the length of film, and I tell my students this too, I'm going to, is that I have found, and this is just something that happened naturally when I was watching it, if you actually watch it because it's separated, the Zack Snyder cut is separated into parts, right? Like part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever. If you actually watch it that way, part 1, take a break, next day, part 2, wait till next day, part 3. If you watch it that way, it is far more enjoyable.
I watched it straight through.
It's a long.
I just took a Saturday and I
of a film that way.
I don't know. I mean, I took a couple of bathroom breaks, but I couldn't step away. I was like, oh, this is really good. I'm really enjoying this. Like, I want to keep watching this.
I'm interested to watch it again and talk with my students about it and see what they feel about it, because that's one of the very last films we watch is the Snyder cut. But yeah, well, very good. So Carrie loved the Snyder cut.
I did.
He was one of the toxic fanboys who just wouldn't let it die. Just wouldn't let it die. All right, very good. Where were we at? Where were we talking about acid?
Star Trek? I don't know.
You were talking about the movies you watched.
No, I was talking about Sandman and Constantine and what else? I did do a complete watch through over the past couple of weeks of Big Bang Theory, because we watch it on television and we have never seen it straight through. It's always been, oh, okay, here's some of the beginning. And so I was just curious to see what the whole picture was. And it's a fine show. It's very weird. They don't close their shows very well.
Speaking of sitcoms that we're watching, I decided to watch Home Improvement.
Nice.
Wow.
Classic.
So, and
Nothing wrong
I
with that.
am there are moments where I'm blurting out laughter.
Yeah.
Blurting, like, because so obviously I watched it when I was a kid during the 90s. But
Mhm.
there are jokes where I'm like, that is hilarious. And of course, when you watch it as a kid, a lot of times you don't get the jokes, and when you watch it as an adult, you get it. This is one of the jokes that I enjoyed. I don't know why I enjoyed this so much. Is that they're having an argument, and then Tim's like, he's like, blah, blah, he's like, you should apologize, and she goes, why should I apologize? You're the transgressor, and he goes, I don't wear your clothes. Like, it's just like it's so stupid, so stupid. But like I'm like laughing at some of these stupid jokes. But anyways, so watching Home Improvement, classic 90s.
I
sitcom.
enjoy Tim Allen as an actor, but as a comedian, I can't stand him as a comedian. Like stand-up comedian,
Because
it's night and day. Like I love his shows and I love all that stuff. I like watching him on television. But I saw a Netflix special where it's something he did a long time ago, and it was like Tim Allen stand up. And I was like, oh, let me check this out. I like Tim Allen or whatever. It was the most raunchiest thing I have ever heard. And I was like, I don't know. That's not who you are. It's kind of like if you've watched Full House and that's
Bob
how
Saget.
you got introduced to Bob Saget, and then all of it, and or America's Funniest Home Videos, and then all of a sudden you see Bob Saget stand up, and you're like, who in the world is this guy? It just completely ruins it. So I was like, yeah, I can't do that.
Well, very good. All right, what 90s sitcom are you watching, Carrie?
Nothing currently. Well,
Buffy the
I
Vampire
take that
Slayer.
back. I'd say I did watch like the first episode of Sister like a week ago.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what brought that on. I was like, oh, I'll watch this. I remember this.
We should do a pilots episode one day. Just like pick 3 old shows and just watch the pilot of those shows and see.
I will say this
stand up.
about pilot episodes. For whatever reason, I don't know what it is. Like, pilot episodes for me are cringy. I don't know why.
They're horrible.
To
like
me,
the
they're
worst thing
always
ever.
horrible. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that like we know the show, and to go back and watch the pilot episode, you're like, no, this is wrong. Like, you guys have figured out what you are, and this is still, you don't know who you are yet. So when you watch it, you're like, no, stop this. But anyways,
Yeah.
I think you should do like a study of those shows that name their pilot. So the first episode is not pilots, like welcome to whatever. So I think that might be interesting.
Yeah.
Now, would you consider take WandaVision for giggles? Would their first episode would that be a pilot?
I would not consider that a pilot, right? Because they the whole series was was accepted. Like, when I think of a pilot episode, I think of, we created this thing as a pitch to a network in order to get accepted.
Yeah.
Right? And now shows these days a lot of them don't do that. Like, it's more like, we're going to give you a season and you just go make it.
Yeah. And then if it does well, we'll give you, you can do another 2 seasons. We'll see how it goes. And if it goes well, we'll give you another 1 or 2 seasons, So
I did watch the first episode of Sandman, and I was intrigued by it. There's so many other shows. And so me and Alinda started watching the Game of Thrones prequel, House of Dragons, which it's really good. Like, and I was really, I didn't want to like it because I was like, I don't want to get back into Game of Thrones again, like this. But so I watched the first episode and I was like, okay. Because the first episode, I will say this. All right, so this is when it comes to today's climate, I'm not really into shows where it's grim anymore. Like, I'm not into the grim shows where it's like everything is so graphic and so negative,
Mhm.
and like you're constantly on edge, and you're worried about every one of your favorite characters getting killed off. I'm like, I'm no longer like everything. The world is this way. I don't want.
You don't have
watch
to
a
worry
TV
about that with Home Improvement at all.
No.
That's true. That's true. I mean, that's why I like Star Trek so much. And that's why I like Star
Yeah.
Trek Strange New Worlds so much. But when I was watching the first Game of Thrones, The House of Dragon, the first episode is very much like that. It's very grim. It's very dark. Like there are some scenes where like you're like, I don't want to see this. And then the next episode, you're like, okay, I see what you're doing here. You're making me interested in what's going to happen. And then the third episode happens, and you're like, okay, I'm locked in. Like I'm all in. So I've been watching House of Dragons, and then I started the Lord of the Rings show last night, and I'm also intrigued. But yeah,
I never could get into Lord of the Rings. I tried. I just, for some reason, that fantasy story just did not do anything for me. I couldn't do it. Like this is not what I thought this was.
Yeah, I loved it. I couldn't get.
And it's funny because like my
Me
wife
too.
loved The Hobbit, but hates Lord of the Rings. Like, just, it's
That's
the weirdest
weird.
thing. I was like,
Yeah.
isn't it the same? I mean, it's the same world, it's the same thing, kind of. But okay.
Carrie, your thoughts on Lord of the Rings? Go.
Sam is he's ride or die. And he's very mistreated.
There you go.
He should
There's a
ask
review.
more questions, but he doesn't.
He's so loyal. But yeah, excellent.
Very much so.
Carrie, what's new with you then, man? What's been going on?
Not a whole lot. I actually just rewatched Catwoman last night. And
The
I
Halle
was
Berry Catwoman?
yes. We turned it
You just
on.
couldn't get enough of that basketball scene, right? You're like, she's got
That stupid basketball scene. No, we were sitting there watching it, and I remember when this movie came out, I read the novelization that they used to do. They would release all of the books because I would go get them from Borders. Remember Borders?
I do remember Borders, yes.
And I'm just trying to figure out why was I so, because I enjoyed the book. And I was so happy to go see the movie and enjoyed the movie. But I watched it yesterday and was like, yeah, I don't know this person anymore. I'm not that person. What? This movie is bad. Why did I like this movie? I can't figure it out.
Yeah, Catwoman was famously bad, right? And it was so bad
Very
that for a
bad.
while, the industry was like, see, you can't have a female lead comic book character. Like it was like that was sort of the justification for such a long
You're
time.
like, that wasn't the issue.
No.
That's not the problem.
That's not the
No.
problem.
Like, have you seen the basketball scene?
It is just wrong. It's so stupid.
It's
But
funny because the basketball scene is it's almost on the level of like The Room in terms of like it's so bad it's good now. Like has it gotten to that point where that scene is so bad where you're like you just have to watch it because it's so bad?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
No, it's still pretty bad. No, like
It's
we
an
were
acquired taste.
yeah, we were rewriting the movie as we're going along. Because I think like Halle Berry had played Storm already in X-Men when she done
Oh
that.
yeah, that's right. That was
And like
afterwards,
it
wasn't
was right after her Oscar too. So it was like, why? How did this? Like, I think she was miscast. I feel like she should have been the villain. She should have had the Sharon Stone role. I said, oh, that'd be interesting. And like have some younger actress being like the new Catwoman come in. I was like, oh, this is fun. Let's rewrite this movie. This feels like a good place to go.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes you got to feel bad for actors and actresses, right? Because a lot of times you can't tell how bad the movie's going to be by the script. Like you can't, like you did, like maybe you can read the script and go like, yeah, this is a bad movie. But sometimes like you never know if it's going to be a huge hit or not, and you get stuck in where you're playing basketball with somebody.
And the weird thing about it is that this movie was in development hell since what, 92, 93, somewhere in there. Because they originally were gonna make the spin-off Catwoman with Michelle Pfeiffer. And Michelle was like, I've got other commitments. Can we work around the commitments? And the studio said no. I did a lot of research. I had some time yesterday.
Okay, well there you go. Excellent.
Yeah, and she was like, nope, can't do it. They're not gonna do it. And they ended up making that movie into Batman Forever. And then we just waited around bouncing between, because they casted Ashley Judd, Nicole Kidman, and then they went to Halle Berry because a project of hers had fell through, and that's how she got this role. So I was like, well, this isn't any of the actors' fault. The production just couldn't get together. That's why this movie's bad.
Let me ask you this question, Carrie. Your opinion on this. Is Halle Berry a bad actress? Is she bad? Right? Because she won an Oscar, and she was in a good film, but is she actually a bad actress?
No, I don't think she's a bad actress.
I think she's bad by herself. Does that make sense? Like she's a very good supporting actress. Like Swordfish, she was very good. X-Men, she's very good. But she had a team of other awesome actors and actresses that kind of fed off of each other. But when you've got something like Catwoman, where like that's it.
Name another good Halle Berry movie.
Other than X-Men?
Is that a good? I mean, does she get credit for the X-Men?
But that's that's not.
I mean, she did well in it.
Like if she's the lead, name a good Halle Berry film besides the one where she won an Oscar. She was in that one film, that horror film. Do you remember that horror film where she's in a insane asylum? But is that a good film?
I don't know.
Yes, that's it. That is it. Yes, that's exactly it.
I knew that.
But I can't.
I like Swordfish. I liked her in Swordfish. She was good with John Travolta. Yeah. But I mean, again, it was John Travolta too. So I don't know. I'm not saying she's a bad actress. I think she's a great actress. I don't know. I think she did better with other strong supporting cast.
I think Carrie's doing a little bit of research here.
I'm trying to, because that's an interesting question. Because she's been in a lot of stuff. She just hasn't been the lead in a lot of things. I don't.
Yes. Yeah.
And maybe that's the problem. She just didn't get a lot of lead experience.
She was also in probably in the worst 007 film, arguably the worst 007 film.
That's the movie that fell through. They were going to do a spinoff with her character, and that didn't happen. That's how she got Catwoman.
If I remember correctly, she's in the 007 film where he outruns the Avalanche. Do you remember that? I'm pretty sure that's the same.
Oh wow. Brain.
So Carrie has come to the
I don't know.
Halle Berry is a terrible actress. I think that's what he said. He's on record.
No. I'm not saying. I think I agree with Acid. I think like a great team, you get the acting, like they feed off each other. I think like that's what happens with a lot of her performances. She's always around other great performers.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Carrie. Another follow-up question. What's your favorite film of 2022? Go.
I don't think I've seen a film from this year yet.
Really? Oh, wow. Okay.
No, I watched Thor. I watched the new Thor.
Right.
So I guess by default, it's my favorite because I think that's the only one I've seen
so far.
Yeah.
So I saw Top Gun. I've seen everything everywhere all at once, and those are probably at the top.
Really?
So I've already mentioned this multiple times on this podcast. Everything everywhere all at once. I have never cried harder in my life.
Oh my God.
In a film. Never, ever. And it could be because I'm much older now and I have kids, and for whatever reason, like something hit me hard about parents and acceptance and accepting who you really like. So like that hit me hard. But yeah, tears flowing through from my eyes watching the film.
I don't think I could picture you crying.
I am not a crier. I am not a. I do not cry. So for me to not be able to, for me to, who often physically stops myself from crying when I get emotional and when I'm watching a film. And yes, I'm getting older and I'm getting softer and I'm a parent. So anything that deals with like fatherhood or anything like that, that really gets me. But I don't cry. But for whatever reason, when I was watching Everything Everywhere All at Once, it just hit me hard. So I don't know what was happening that day, but I enjoyed it. It's a great film.
I'm gonna have to see this now.
It's
I cried
one of
everything.
those films where it's definitely one of those films, Carrie. When you first watch it, you're like, "What is wrong with Anthony? Like, why does he like this film?" And then you'll start to notice, like, it kind of does like a turn, and you're like, "Oh, there's a deeper message here," and that's what got me. So
Gotcha.
yeah, so I definitely enjoyed it. And then Top Gun it may very well be a perfect movie. Like
I've heard that a lot.
It may very well be a perfect movie. Like so from beginning to the end. And the funny thing about it is I went in it with high expectations because I heard everything like everyone was telling me, because I didn't see it in theaters. I watched it on demand. And everyone talked about how great it was. And I watched it and I was like, this is really good. Like in terms of how they balance nostalgia with extending the storyline. So it's not like they're just throwing things at you like references that but the references mean something. Like you're like, oh yeah, I remember that from the original movie, but now it means something to the character. So it's a very good film as well.
Would you say watch the first movie before the second one?
I don't think you have to.
Oh, okay.
I do not think you have to, but if you want to watch it just for a little extra, whatever. But you don't have to, because they sort of explain everything in the film. Now, it'll make you enjoy some of the aesthetics of Top Gun Maverick. Like you'll get references where you're like, oh, that's kind of a callback, or that thing is sort of like it's a nod to the original. It's something different, but it's definitely a nod. So them playing football on the beach is a nod to the volleyball scene. So it's like, but it's different enough where it's like it's something new, and it also makes sense that they would be doing this because Maverick is telling them to do it, and it makes sense that he would be influenced by his volleyball scene. Like it just, everything makes sense. It's not done just to be a callback. It's done for a reason, and I think that's what makes it so great. There you go.
There you go.
Very good.
We did have a comment in chat going back to Halle Berry.
Let's do it.
Chat says she's like Will Ferrell good when they don't have to carry the movie.
Oh.
Okay, so let's talk about this then. Name a great Will Ferrell film
that he carries.
Where he carries.
Well, Elf. But I mean,
Elf is great. Elf is a great. It's a sort of a cult classic, but it's like sort of a holiday thing.
It's a later cult classic, though, if you think about it, because I mean, it was what? When did Elf come out? 2000.
So are we saying
early 2000?
So are we saying that like Anchorman? He has a supporting cast, but he's the lead in Anchorman, and Anchorman's a great film. So are we saying that doesn't count?
I think that counts. My favorite, I think, I think it's Stranger Than Fiction.
Wow, that's that's not what I was expecting out of all his films.
No,
That's
I like
definitely-
Stranger Than Fiction.
What about like Talladega Nights?
Talladega Nights is another
Yeah.
great. He's got a great one. So I don't think the Will Ferrell analogy works. Who was that? MD? Who's
No, that was Skeefer.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, that was Skeefer. Good old Skeef.
Yeah, I would say Will Ferrell. He's got plenty of films where you're like, yeah, he's the lead, and they're great films.
Old School.
Old School's good. Other guys, he's not like the main dude, but he's
I haven't seen that one.
The Other Guys is great. Other Guys is really great.
He was in the not new, but the remade Bewitched movie too, right?
He was in that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Night at the
Very good.
Roxbury.
Last comments before we head out here today. Carrie, what do you think? What's going on with you?
Not a whole. I've been like rewatching a lot of old stuff. Rewatching Charmed.
Oh, nice.
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's The Lost World. I forgot that was on TV, so I've been rewatching that. It's actually a really good show. Let's see, what else am I doing? Not a whole lot. The podcast, writing the blog, working on a book. Yeah, that's about it.
You want to go ahead and plug your podcast?
Oh yeah, whatever with Carrie. It's on Spotify, exclusively on Spotify.
Definitely. He's got an exclusive deal with Spotify.
Exclusive
That's right.
deal.
He can't be anywhere else.
Very
No.
similar to Joe Rogan. Him and Joe Rogan got very similar deals.
The only ones.
They usually have each other on each other's shows. It's
Right,
good. Yeah.
Very good. Acid, final words before we head out of here today.
Final words. Apply to be a bus driver.
Okay, they
Today.
need bus drivers. They need bus drivers for the city of Auburn, Alabama. They
That's right.
definitely those.
Go ahead. Just apply.
Very good. All right, so before we head out, a couple plugs. Or once again, you can check us out, sci-figangsters.com. You can always check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or you can also check us out on YouTube and see our pretty faces. Next week is our very first episode of Star Trek Adventures. I got the crew, and I've got our episode already planned out, ready to go. So next week we will go ahead and go with that. So that should be a lot of fun.
Everybody be there. It's going to be awesome.
We're expecting this to be like a once a month kind of a thing, right? So like once a month we'll be doing a Star Trek Adventures episode. But there you go. But that's all we have for today. Thank you for Carrie and Acidtrain. I'm Anthony Denar. Goodbye, everybody.